What up, nerds? Welcome to another sex cult episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 315, recorded on Sunday, April 18th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the classic Wicker Man, not the Nick Cage remake, 1973 OG shit. This was the winner of the April poll pick, which it took a while to land on a winner, but we finally did. Before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Are you ready to talk about Wicker Mangs?
Dude, I'm ready to talk about wicker in all its forms. Let's go. Let's talk about weaving. Let's talk about collecting. Let's talk about selling and mercantilism. I don't know the word for that. We're going to sell some wicker here today. What do I got to do to put you in a wicker basket here today, Bob?
Literally just give me one and I'll get into it. I'll be your Belial. I'll be your little Belial. You like that? You like the sound of that?
I mean, sure, as long as you're not going to do all the things that he does.
Just feed me cheeseburgers and that will sedate me, okay?
Okay, yeah, like most people, really. The McDonald's sedation, as we call it.
This is America. Last but not least, calling in from the Jacksonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy, Lord Summerstains, but you could call me my Lord Stains for short.
My Lord Stains.
Malort Stains it is.
You can call me Malort Stains.
If anybody's drinking Malort, you're certainly going to stain something.
Hey, Soju, can you give me your best Christopher Lee impression? I'm dying to know.
Oh, no. My strong suit is not impression.
Your God blew it. That's all I got.
That was acceptable on
you.
A very low level.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's not great, but it is.
It's as good as I could do.
I am not the impressions man, I'll tell you that. But I will say Wicker Man was my pick, so that's another V card for Juice. That's victory card. Victory card.
Choose.
What are you taking it back from the
you can do
from
better.
the virgins?
You can do
what
better.
are you doing?
This one's for us. But no, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that Wicker Man came out on top. Hey-o, can I get a hooey?
There's some serious competition too. I'm just glad we landed on a consensus.
Yeah, we did have a tie for the first time in Straight Chilling history. Wicker Man was tied with the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, so we had to post like a tiebreaker poll on our Patreon website, and of course Wicker Man won. So we're talking about that this evening.
A win-win scenario, but yeah, we're happy to get the Mang.
That's true.
The Mang came around.
Thanks. Thanks to everybody that voted. When the Mang comes around. Before we get into the review, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. Speaking of Patreon, here's another reminder. Over on our Patreon website, if you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote in our monthly poll picks. Our May poll pick is currently posted, and the theme for May is Alternative Aliens. The three movies you can vote between are Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Mac and Me, and Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Bob, how are those numbers looking so far?
Killer Clowns is still definitely ahead. Rocky Horror is in second place, and Mac and Me is way on
back there.
Yeah.
Man, who knew that a bunch of horror fans would not rally around Mac and Me?
I'm a little surprised
Me
that
too.
Rocky Horror isn't giving Killer Clowns a little bit of run for its money. I mean, both great choices.
Yeah.
They're both very specific. They both have their fans, and I feel like they're niche, but I think that Rocky Horror is a little more niche than that's just a personal impression I get of it. But
yeah,
I mean, the people who love Rocky Horror are adamant.
Yeah,
but
reggae
I think
horror?
there might be more.
Reggae horror.
Very adamant.
Now,
I just think Killer Clowns is more accessible.
This is something we're doing this year where each one of us gets to take over a month, completely choose all three movies. This is Rob's month. Rob, do you want to give any kind of insight into why you picked this theme, why you picked these movies?
Yeah.
You want a campaign, Rob?
I had like I don't know, 20 or 30 ideas for this. I eventually landed on alternative aliens because, like, alien movies, like, yeah, there's like, you got your classics, War of the Worlds, you got Aliens, etc., Predator. But I wanted to talk about some weird shit, and I figured, like, if any of these movies won, it would lead to a very entertaining conversation. So here we are. This is where we landed.
Oh, God, yes. Come with me.
Yeah.
Please do.
You are all very welcome. So
It's a good round. I applaud you.
thank you, sir. Make sure you get your votes in before the end of April. We'll see what movie we're talking about this May. And I look forward to Randy's Takeover Month, which will be happening shortly.
Yeah.
But
I have no thoughts on that yet. So
zero thoughts.
It's going to be very, very thoughtless and slapped together, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
I do look forward to it. I think this is like a cool idea. I don't know, like it's going to lead to movies that I think we probably wouldn't have spoken about if we hadn't done this. So
I might make it a point to just pick movies that otherwise just would never get fucking love.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
means
We can do
putting
that.
us through the ringer.
Yeah, I mean, the movies I picked, I didn't think I liked them, and they were close enough to horror, but just I didn't think we would ever realistically cover them on the cast. So I think it's been a fun idea so far.
yeah, pretty cool. Way to switch it up.
We really
for sure.
this is the pat ourselves on the back segment of the
Yeah.
show.
You guys are great, Straight Chilling Crew.
Also, like,
Way to go, us.
if you are
Nailing
listening
it.
and you're like, this idea fucking sucks, these movies fucking suck, be like, you can let us know that too. So
Yeah.
yeah, we like your feedback.
Rob really loves to hear that we fucking suck. It's his favorite.
It definitely doesn't upset
That
me.
is Rob's favorite.
In other Patreon news, we do have one brand new Patreon supporter we got to give mad shouts outs to. That is Marnie M. Thank you so much for signing up and showing us some love on Patreon. It really does mean the world to us. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. As is tradition around these parts, we owe Marnie the Straight Chilling salute. This one is for Marnie.
Slap my ass.
Thanks,
you,
Marty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for that sweet ass slap. Keep them coming. That is all we got regarding Patreon. Juice, do you have any YouTube or Twitch news?
I do not. My house is clean this week.
All right. I got a couple random things just real quick I'll mention. Joe Bob's Last Drive-In has returned to Shudder on Friday evenings. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is something we've done for the past couple years. Whenever Joe Bob does his thing, we'll do a live watch party, and we'll host that over on Zoom. You know, we'll throw a link out there for all you guys to join in to watch Joe Bob, but also more importantly to engage in the chat. We had a solid turnout this past Friday. We had a really nice crew. I passed out, so sorry about that.
I passed out as well.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. Big thanks to everybody
We all
that
woke
showed
up
up.
and then it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, on the East Coast, like it starts off at 9 p.m., which is like not too late, but it rolls to like 2 a.m.
Yeah, them boys be talking.
Yeah, like it's a long haul. So, but yeah, that's something we're gonna do every week until season 3 ends. So thanks to everybody that hung out with us. It was a lot of fun. Joe Bob showed Mother's Day and House by the Cemetery. We'll see what he's gonna show this week. So if you want to join, keep an eye out for the link for that on Friday. Also, in other news, Spooky Empire. If you're local to Florida, Spooky Empire is something that happens in Orlando or sometimes in Tampa, actually. It happens twice a year. It's a horror convention. It's a lot of fun. Juice and I are going to be attending that Saturday, May 1st in Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually get to go to
Yeah.
an event.
Finally.
What? If you want to
Finally.
meet Soju, you want to shake my hand, if you want to give me lots of money, that would be.
You want to take a stinky deuce in the stall next to this man? Now's your chance.
If you want to stain soju, now's your
Yeah.
time.
If you want to bone Soju,
Wow.
Wow, open for business, are we?
I'll be taking applications.
What? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Aren't you too young, Justin? I mean, please.
I think I'm gonna leave Juice at the house actually. So if you want to hang out with Bob, you can at
If you want
Spooky Empire.
a bone a hot young buck.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Yeah, we're gonna be hanging out at Spooky Empire Saturday, May 1st. If anybody's happens to be rolling through, you want to hang out, talk horror movies, whatever, just hit us up. Let us know you're gonna be there. That is all we got regarding housekeeping. Let's go ahead and get in the main event. And as always, we're gonna be kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, I know you got this box because I got it in my hand.
I do have it, but I'm also blind as fuck. So if you could please read whatever's on the back of that fucking box.
This is the Blu-ray disc of the Wicker Man. And it's no steelbook. Bob, why isn't this steel?
I don't think there's been a steelbook release. Who put that out? Let me see the front of that. What's on the front of that? I don't even know who put this out. What is this, like Warner Brothers?
Oh, God.
Lionsgate. Lionsgate put this out.
It's like an aluminum edition?
No, it's just regular old blue-ass plastic.
Just
Lionsgate
blue.
put it out. It's got some decent bonus features on it, a handful of them, but it's like the most accessible disc you can find. I think it's like $10 actually, so buy it. Slam it into your eyeballs. Juice, what's on the back of that baby blue?
So to give Bob a little credit, this is very tiny white font that is not super easy to read, but I'm going to give it my best shot. When a young girl
True.
When a young girl mysteriously vanishes, Police Sergeant Howie travels to a remote Scottish island to investigate. But the seemingly quiet community is not as it appears, as the detective uncovers a secretive pagan society led by the strange Lord Summerisle, Christopher Lee. While the townsfolk attempt and threaten him with bizarre rituals and lust, Howie must race to discover the truth behind the girl's disappearance before his clash with Lord Summerisle builds to a terrifying conclusion. One that has cemented this cult shocker as a modern horror masterpiece. There we go.
Like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
My life.
True that. Thank you, Juice, for letting me borrow your young eyeballs.
Oh, yeah.
Really means a lot.
You can borrow my young body anytime, Bob.
Good night. Apparently anybody can.
It's really, really open for business.
Yeah, no shit.
I don't think there's a number line like at a meat counter.
Let me get a half pound of your roast beef, please. Anyways, let's go and talk about this movie. Gentlemen, had you seen this before? Would you recommend people check it out? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
My experience with The Wicker Man was entirely Nick Cage centered up until this point. I had not seen this. I know that's gonna make some people very upset, but I got to see it now, and I do recommend it. So we'll leave it at that until we get into the meat of it.
Deal. Juice, what about you?
I had never seen this before, and I would recommend. This is a classic. It's often considered a classic, and I think that holds up. I see why it's considered that way. Also, if you like the film Midsummer, which came out a couple years ago, which is, kind of now like a big deal amongst horror fans, and you've never seen this like me, I would recommend that you check this out. They have a very similar style, aesthetic. This is a great spring summer horror, which is perfect because now April showers we got going on. But I would recommend you check this out. And I think it's pretty good for general audiences. I don't think you have to be exclusively a horror fan to appreciate this film. It's very interesting. It's different. So yeah, I would recommend. Bob, had you ever seen this? Would you recommend?
Never had seen it before. Much like Randy, I'd seen the Nick Cage remake probably 2 or 3 times, actually. Not great. Really pretty boring.
Not
to
a
be
great
honest.
start.
Yeah, kind of a rough introduction to this movie, but I understood this as being a classic. So I was excited to finally watch it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Would definitely recommend checking it out. It's the only thing I can really compare this to is Midsummer, which is something we talked about on the podcast when it came out. Midsummer is very much influenced by this movie, so if you really enjoyed that, I would say for sure check out The Wicker Man. You're really gonna like it. So yeah, definitely recommend.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
I'm prepared.
Yeah, decent recommendation from the Straight Chilling crew. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to drop that spoiler warning. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
You've been warned.
Fair warning, I've been drinking a scotch again.
Oh,
Last week
Just
I was
gotta-
pretty tore up, but this
Yeah.
week I've started. Bob poured me a strong zombie. I'll go ahead and say that.
If you pour a zombie correctly, it's going to be strong.
Rob said there was 3 shots of rum in this, so
Am I-
I'm almost finished. with
am I
that.
opening up a weird tangent by asking what the fuck a zombie is?
It's a tiki drink. It's rum heavy and also random fruit juices. It's something
I do like a fruity cocktail, man.
I've been working on like dialing it in, and I think I've finally arrived.
Oh, wow. That's a couple of weird euphemisms for this situation, but sure.
You're so very welcome. Yeah, we've been drinking, so whatever that's worth. I do have a plot synopsis I can blast through very quickly if you gentlemen will indulge.
Sure.
I'll indulge, Bob.
Thank
Get
you.
into it.
I'll allow it.
Thank you. All right. Talking about The Wicker Man, 1973. Plot synopsis is as follows. Sergeant Howie investigates the disappearance of a little girl named Rowan Morrison on Summer Isle, which is just off the coast of Scotland. The sergeant soon finds out locals aren't cooperating with his investigation. They first say there is no Rowan. Then they say they do know her, but she's dead. However, there is no death certificate, so the sergeant asks Lord Summerisle, the cult leader, if he can exhume Rowan's grave. He gets permission and does so, only to find a dead rabbit inside the coffin. The sergeant also sees some strange goings-on on the island, such as an orgy in a field. There's a naked woman jumping through an open flame. There's a young boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a young boy that's being offered to an older woman for sexual intercourse. There's a scene with a maypole, but also that is then being described to a room full of school children as being phallic in nature. The movie eventually concludes during the cult's big May Day celebration, in which Rowan eventually shows up. She is alive and well, and she appears to be a virgin sacrifice to ensure a fruitful harvest for the cult. However, the sergeant heard that. However, the sergeant soon finds out he has been summoned to the island to be the cult's actual virgin sacrifice. They put him inside a large wicker statue shaped like a man. They set it on fire, and that is how the movie concludes. Start your engines.
Wow.
So this is a pretty damn horny movie.
Yeah.
We can start right there.
yeah.
So yeah, this movie's filled with horny shit constantly. There's always somebody in the nude doing stuff or talking about phallic symbols or whatever. And I don't know much about pagan religion as it is. I think that this movie probably had a lot of impact culturally in how people see pagan worship or any sort of pagan religions. I could be wrong about that. That's totally talking out of my ass.
But though, I want to subscribe to that because a lot of times you do see now even outside of the horror realm of of worshiping the earth. And they have specific gods in this movie that they go to. But I mean, just the idea of pagan worship, as it is this kind of broad brush that's painted, a lot of time it is tied to sexuality and worshiping the earth, and usually women are kind of the center or the power kind of holders, even though there's a Lord Summerisle in this one. A lot of the focus still is on kind of femininity and stuff like that.
the bearing of life, which men obviously cannot do. Something that I found pretty interesting, like Matt, shouts out to Matt, watched this movie a little early this week and started talking about it, and there was like a conversation that was like starting to happen over on the Slack channel about whether or not like the cult that is featured in this movie is evil or not, and like obviously like they do commit murder, like, which is wrong. Like there's really no two ways about that. But outside of their ritual sacrifice, like it seems as though they have a fairly normal life, like open sexually for sure, but like pretty normal. I don't know if you would like necessarily call them like an evil cult or like look down upon them outside of their sacrifice.
Right, I kind of agree with that, and this is kind of like a situation where it's just such a nice like counterbalance to Howie, the police detectives, like almost overt stick in the mud level Catholicism. Yeah, which because Catholicism and Christianity in general, it typically it has more hollowed like rhetoric about virginity than I would think a lot of religions do. Certainly, maybe not any of the big ones these days as much, but I mean, like sexuality ever has always been kind of part of religion, but in Christianity in particular, or at least as the pervasive religion of the West, is so heavily not that. And I loved seeing those things play off each other, because it's that same old argument, or not argument, but discussion we've had time and time again about how, like, say people in, European countries have different ideas towards, nudity in film than we do and things of that nature. It's what people are prudish about is kind of dictated partially by their religion, certainly. And it's just interesting to see those two things in very stark contrast here. But really, if you take away the human sacrifice, which is kind of not negotiable in this deal. Yeah. But if you were to take that away, it would seem like a more peaceful society than a lot of what we know in the West, like at least the in-depth things that we know about. Howie doesn't really seem to think so. And we don't get a lot of counterbalance in terms of examples from the mainland, but it does show a lot of like counter examples of the two religions anyway.
And I actually, one of the things I think is very clever about this movie is it does that, in such a good way, kind of like what you just highlighted, but it does a little bit, it's like almost like this like yin yang thing where it's these two sides and then there's spots within one that looks completely dull and, of like the way Christianity is kind of presented here, and it's not the pervasive one, it's in the background, but as it kind of is represented by Howie, it's kind of like the dull one, and everything like that. But then on the other side, for the most part, it's this kind of free sexuality pagan life, and yet there's like this drip of darkness that comes in, especially at the end with the whole sacrifice. But also I think the way kind of Lord Summerisle kind of dissolves away a little bit when he's being called out by Howie about like, next year it's gonna be you, like this isn't gonna work, this is kind of bullshit, and he starts to kind of like lose his actual cool and like freeness or whatever, where you see a little bit of that panic. And so I think there's like, I love the way these two positions of like Christianity and this pagan lifestyle are contrasted and like shown in this film. And from that standpoint, but also like a theological standpoint, like the speech between Summerisle and Howie, that was like such a fantastic discussion between those two. It's my favorite part, I think, of the film, like favorite scene. And
I think that cuts to the quick of what this movie is trying to do, which is to show that dichotomy. Like, I don't think there's two ways about that. Like,
that lays it out.
The point. I don't know that I fully grasp exactly what it's saying, but I know that that's center focus.
Well, I even like the not even the differences that they show, but maybe even some of the comparisons, because like his whole thing of like, oh, so you're talking about like a virgin that was impregnated by a ghost, and even more subtle. So that's like thrown in his face, but even more subtle scenes for the audience is one of the major scenes of Christianity is them taking the like the Lord's Supper,
Right.
and talking about like eating the flesh and drinking the blood. And if it's one of those things, if like you are completely unfamiliar with Christianity or what's actually happening in the descriptions you're given of what these people are talking about, they're doing, I'm eating the flesh of God, I'm drinking his blood. You're like, what the fuck
Cannibalism.
is going on?
This is a movie about cultural relativism, which is something that I know that we had a class together in college, philosophy, where we discussed this for some time.
And Batman.
And I'm no authority on yes. Well, that was religion's class. Different. Very differently led classes.
Batman or the Pope. It really it depends on.
I feel like that bears repeating, so people know what we're talking about. We had a religions class in college where we had a very elderly woman who taught us, and she was fine normally, a little dull but fine.
Yeah.
And then one day none of us were paying attention except for one guy, and she's got slides going, and he raises his hand and asks, "Why is Batman standing next to a priest in this photo?"
It was supposed to be like religious figures of like all religions.
Yeah, religious figures.
In like a circle, and in the middle was this like silhouette of Batman.
And she said, "I thought that was the Pope." She said that out loud to her class, her religions class.
Oh my
it's
God.
Bruce motherfucking Wayne is who it is.
That's classic.
Bruce Wayne is certainly God to many, many nerds, but not in the larger lexicon of religion. Anyway, I
paying
forgot the point I was
tuition
making.
to learn this anyway.
Yeah, that was a very community moment where it's like, oh my God, I give money to this.
Yeah.
Swoop. But anyway, but yeah, this is a movie about cultural relativism, which I remember vividly. The distinction that was made by the professor when she was like, showing the goods and bads of that, is the idea being that, like, is it okay for different cultures to do whatever they want within the context of their culture because that's what they do. Or are on one side you have, okay, so if you go in and try and tell people what to do, you're a colonialist and you're trying to take over their culture and replace it with your own or your own values or whatever it may be. But on the other side of that is what happens in this movie, which is, this seems like a totally chill group of, sex positive people until they start burning motherfuckers alive. Yeah. And it turns out that's part of it too. So what are you willing to accept in terms of, giving people the freedom to be themselves? What are you willing to say is evil, like outright? What is there a moral code that, so objective that you can say, stop doing that to somebody and know that you're in the right? You know what I mean?
And that's why I'm glad
this movie is all that.
And I'm glad they give a splash of both, because it does lean heavy in one way or the other in both. But like in the end, like I feel bad for Howie. Like he, especially God,
he's murdered.
That last scene is so haunting.
It's brutal, man.
It's brutal. And these people who, for the most part, like, you're following Howie, but you can see, like, he's like, he's on to something, and something suspicious going on.
He's also righteous. He presents himself in a righteous way, which makes you not necessarily root for him all the time.
Yeah, it's just like you understand where he's coming from, but you also understand why these people would treat him like shit, kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, man, they do such a great balancing act between these two, just like factions of just, it seems everybody's
belief systems.
because even when he goes to, like, when he goes to the school, all the kids are in good spirits. They're all laughing until he talks and is putting people down. And you're like, man, why are you fucking like riding on our vibe, man?
But you also find out that their classmate is dead and they're lying to cover it up. And then one of them is also like torturing a beetle in a desk.
But they don't
weird.
Get that as being cruel.
Because that's the thing. They're not raised to think it's strange. They're raised. That's their norm. Or that, and the other thing is, like, any kid, there are kids in Christian societies that do that kind of shit all the time. So I don't necessarily see that as an indicator, but like, and maybe within the writing of the film, you could argue that it is. But to me, that seemed more like this is just an odd kid in the society, and this guy is such a force of his own moral code, such an enforcer that he feels the need to
talked like shit to this child, even though he has like pretty much no moral standing there as far as I'm concerned. Like he's coming in really, really hot.
Yeah,
he's the outsider,
the Christian
and like
outsider, which is
and like that's something you could see in any society. He knows that. He's not an idiot. He knows that you can see that in a schoolhouse in Britain just as easily as you could in the Summer Isles. But
and I think this is a brilliant case of, there's like so many brilliant aspects of this movie that I hope we can cover a decent amount of them. But one that I think is maybe more subdued or not as prominent, but the idea of like the character study, like why he acts like that. And I think it's broken down in those final scenes, like seeing this man, like, yes, he's very self-righteous, but it's also this kind of like pure fear or insecurity that I see in him because he is there alone and he kind of throws his weight around, and several times you see where that kind of disintegrates, where people aren't scared or intimidated because really everybody's in on the joke. Once you kind of know what's gonna happen, you're like, oh my god, like this poor man is throwing his weight around, but everybody is in on the joke that you're gonna be burned alive.
Just him being there means they're winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's falling into every trap they lay for him, and they're happy about that, because in like whether they truly believe true believers or they're just sadists, which I mean, you got to think that at least for the kids' sake that they're mostly true believers, like that this is something that they're on board with because it leads to positive things. They're positive about this, just as they're sex positive, they're murder positive in this culture. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is, like, culturally speaking, I want to talk about the time this is released. This is released in 1973. The Flower Child movement had just sort of abruptly ended. We're talking like I don't know if Kent State had happened yet, but shit had really gone down. The civil rights, and that's just stateside that I mostly know. So and Britain, I'm sure, like I'm sure Austin Powers is based in some truth. But like this is like on some level like a depiction of the fear that some people have about like communal living and very, very like flower children-y hippies, you know. This is kind of a counterbalance to that, while also showing this dude who is just mostly bluster, has no real authority, and at least none that he can actually employ in this situation, and who is tricked and duped in the end by these group of like flower children, so to speak, into dying for their own benefit. So it really kind of like leaves blood on everybody's hands at the end of the day. And I think that's pretty fucking interesting.
It does. And there's a lot of real fears in this that are presented in a way that's very interesting, because even the idea that like you can rely on society, or he constantly like you're gonna be in a jail cell tonight if you don't give me what I want. And like, yeah, you're a part of this system of like Great Britain, and he's a cop, but really it just comes down to like your location. And that's one of the things I find fascinating just in general about cult movies too, about this almost like rebellion nature, is like you think you have power, or once you're in this location of, even if it's 50 to 100 people who are all under the same belief system, it's like you're nothing.
The societal constructs
that's the mist.
Are they're completely different. Like, they don't believe the same shit you believe, so you have officially zero power over these people at all.
Yeah,
you're on their
You can
turf.
yell and complain, but unless you are able to enforce it by force, you're not going to get anywhere. But that leads to colonialism, so that's a whole different kettle of fish too.
But it's also the breakdown of kind of like the idea of a social contract.
Yeah.
You know, you're supposed to respect me because I'm a police officer, and I am treated like that everywhere I go, so I throw my weight around. Well, now you're in this isolated situation where you are trying to do what's good. You're trying to find a missing child and do your best, but the way that you treat people and the authority means nothing now. You know, like now you're completely judged on your actions, and those actions
an equal at best.
are not
at
great.
absolute best, you're treated as equal, which in his case he's definitely not.
Yeah. Something somewhat interesting that I was like pondering over while watching this movie, like cult movies seem to be like maybe making some sort of a comeback. You know, I'll throw that out there loosely. We've talked a lot about like slasher movies too, like So, like, in comparison, like, the character of, like, the virgin plays very different roles in these movies. Like, if you are virginal in a slasher movie, typically you're, like, the final girl. You might be the lone survivor in that movie. Whereas, like, if you take that same character and put them in a cult movie, you might just be the sacrifice. You're the one lone murder in that movie. It's, like, a very interesting divide to contemplate, I think.
It's also strange because, like, both these religions, so to speak, if you're going to split them into two here, like, I see, like, it's a common thing to note when you're talking about virginity in slasher movies in particular, that that's something that'll get you killed. Like, it's about, like, Scream broke this down years ago. People are being murdered, not so much, mainly for fodder for the viewing audience, but they also need to have committed some sort of sin in order to get you to go along with that. And in the case of a virgin, that is something that's a Rubicon they're not willing to cross. But on the other side of the fence, you've got these guys that intentionally target you for that reason. I mean, I guess I'm reiterating what you said, but it's so interesting to me because it's like so go ahead.
The slasher movie's like more Christian in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
They're kill a virgin.
Slasher movies were born of a nation of primarily Christian belief structures and morality,
and the pagan side will just off a virgin no problem.
Which seems like the ultimate. That's why it seems so transgressive to somebody who grew up in a society like that is based in Christianity, because it's the virgin. That's like the ultimate thing that's the ultimate Rubicon to cross. That's the worst person to kill because they're blameless and sinless creatures like Mother Mary,
as pure as you can be. Yeah, right. Exactly.
But if you worship sex, if you worship or the idea of creating life, reproduction, and things like that, then being a virgin might actually be a negative thing, and maybe that's why the sacrifice falls on a virgin. I don't know. I don't know the logic of it, but I think that it's fascinating to see those two things like really butt up against each other.
It's fascinating from two different perspectives that shine kind of the same light, really, because ultimately, what are we dealing with? Murder here and several things, but it really is great, just because, the slasher, and especially too. The idea, again, I keep having these like this light and dark, like just imagery in my head because this movie's so bright. So of course, when we talk about slashers, I think of Halloween. I think of Nightmare on Elm Street. Where it's very dark. It's based in the darkness. These guys are coming from the shadows. This movie is so bright. There's flowers everywhere. It's very vibrant. And even when it's nighttime, it's full of life. At night, everyone is gathered in the pub and they're singing together.
Or out back.
People are coming. People are coming to have sex with this woman. Like this communal. This communal space where everybody is rejoicing and having a good time, and they're comfortable with each other. The idea of this separation of sex makes me uncomfortable, or it's not something that's approached, where it's very open in this movie. They're singing about it, which I love. The songs in this, by the way, the soundtrack is fantastic. But again, just that idea of the light and the dark, but they're still producing the same horrors is brilliant. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I lost you for a second. But yeah, I also wanted to bring up, there's another perspective you could look at this look at this movie through, another lens. And I don't, like, this is just coming to me now. I didn't really consider this all that much, so I don't know really where I'm going with it, but it needs to be said. It's a very specific setup they have in this island where apparently the boys play on the maypole and the girls go to school to be educated. So is this also like a dichotomy here where it's a patriarchy versus a matriarchy? Are they, like, is this movie trying to, I don't know, maybe this movie is saying, matriarchy bad. I don't know.
I didn't really pick up on that necessarily now, because I know we see another scene where the girls are out jumping over the fire. I didn't pick up on that idea that the girls were being educated and the boys weren't, but that's a valid point. Like,
I think so. I mean, like at the same scene, you can see the boys in the back through the window playing on the maypole while the girls are in classes. And maybe that's just, the way the schools are broken up, but it seems like an intentional choice. And like, this is if reproduction is your God, then a woman figurehead makes sense.
I will say, like, this entire movie is very feminine. Like, all the characters, for the most part, that are in control are feminine. Obviously, like, you've got Lord Summerisle, but like throughout the whole movie, like, you're following the detective, and he's going like to the inn, he's going to the bar, he's talking to the photographer, he's going to the cemetery, and like everything is like very full of like life and flowers and like until he gets to Lord Summerisle's like manor, and everything is like very rigid, and you've got like hard angles and like, you know, wood and marble, and it feels like very masculine and like classically wealthy, I guess. Like the whole like tone of the movie changes when he enters Lord Summerisle's manor, and it just seems like like man, like this is the male gender like sort of inserting himself into the movie. Here we go. Like the figurehead, but like the rest of it just feels like very feminine to me. Like you've got the school marm. She's teaching, like you said, which I didn't even realize it, Brandy, but like literally all the people in the class are female. You're absolutely right. So there's like an interesting like dichotomy between the male and female in this movie, and I don't know what it means, but it's interesting.
That's interesting too, because talking about the male and the female real quick, I also see this as a very kind of feminine film, and yet, like when I think about the pub scenes, all the musicians are men, and a lot of the people dancing around are men. You know, you've got the man who runs the inn, he's there, and then Lord Summerisle. And the only like really distinct woman that stands out to me is the daughter who has sex with everyone. And then also, I guess, the school teacher. But it has this air, like the background is full of women, or the focal point of the society and what's happening is on women, because we even see like the man who's in the cemetery, like all the like distinct faces that we see seem to be masculine, but they don't leave as much of an overall impact.
Well, they're not aggressive.
Miss Morrison too is like a major player.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't know. Like there's
and
a
her
lot
child.
Yeah, and her daughter, which is like
two of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, both of them. You're right. I don't know. It feels like very feminine focused. Like there are major male figures in this movie. I'm not saying there's not, but they seem to be very passive to me in a way, outside of Lord Summerisle, because he's sort of like orchestrating this whole big May Day parade and big sacrifice. Like he's the figurehead for sure. But outside of that character, it's like you've got the photographer who's like very passive. You've got like the bartender who's very passive. And honestly, it seems like everybody that is there drinking at his bar just worships his daughter.
Well, I was going to point that out too.
Yeah.
Because there's two things. So like everything they sing about is about almost like women. The focal point of this society is they're kind of singing about sex. And one thing I took a note, and this is why I want to bring it up, because maybe it has some significance, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But what the girls are being taught in the school. So I wrote down what they had written on the board. There's two notes. It says, he starts to erase it, so it's kind of hard to see what's on the board. But one says the toadstone, and it gives a description of the toadstone. And one says the hagstone preserves people from nightmares. So it's almost like these women are being taught like remedies or like powers of this society. Like
it's goop.
Yeah, like what gives you like
they're in goop
power
class
here? So that could even tie into the ideas of the society, like women.
They could be. They could
I
be
don't
the doctors.
Yeah. Like
I don't
who's given power or answers.
But they're also told that like the maple is a penis, and we worship it because of its reproductive power, and we can't make life with it. So like it doesn't neglect men in any way. I wouldn't say it doesn't neglect the idea of the man, the role that the man plays. But it is weird to me that Lord Summerisle, as much as I love Christopher Lee in this, and I would not want to replace him, would make more sense in my mind for that to be a female figurehead, because this whole group seems, the whole island, like you guys say, it seems it's very passive and non-aggressive. However, and I did want to bring this up also, the other side of that is they're not aggressive to his face. but it's pretty clear that they're hiding some shit. Like they're malevolent forces in this movie. There's a tone of something hidden just beneath the surface throughout all of this, and all of the men have that same tone. So it's not so much that they're passive, it's that they're not outwardly aggressive. That maybe makes, and that's just some gender construct we come up with too. So I mean, there's only so much that we can really glean from that. It seems almost like it's just such a complicated subject, and I don't think it's the primary focus of the movie necessarily, but I think there's a lot that's being said here, and that is certainly one of them.
They do take a severed hand and light all the fingers on fire to make fucking Howie fall asleep for days on end.
Well, hey, I want to jump off that idea of sexuality because Randy brought it up, and I took a note, but it just, when you were talking about that, I love these discussions because it sparked this other idea in me that I just looked up. So I want to touch on about it a little bit. But one thing that I just took a note that I was like, the shots of the art with the music combined and the snails at night. So that first scene where he goes up into his room or whatever, and they're playing the music and they show this like crazy scene of the snails like having sex. So I looked it up because it comes up at another point in the film with Lord Summerisle, where he's this kind of focal figure who ultimately ends up dressing as a woman. Garden snails, so garden snails have both female and male reproductive cells, so they're hermaphrodites. So even that idea was like this very prominent scene, and it kind of like stuck to me. I was like, I like this scene, I like what's happening, but the song that they're playing is this more kind of chill song, but it's about sex. And
Gentle Johnny or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and they have this scene where they're showing, and it kind of reminded me of stuff that they pulled from in Midsummer, where they were showing this like old tapestry kind of art mixed in with the scenes of these snails at night. And then this is also right before the dude goes out and explores the town, and like there's this naked woman wailing like on this grave, and there's this massive orgy out in the fields and stuff. And so a lot of like sexual identity, or the blending even of the sexes, is a very huge like focal point in this film. I don't know, it's got so much.
See, I don't know, it feels like it really distinguishes between the two, but that is an interesting note because like that's clearly a choice to choose snails. I mean, I can't imagine why that would be the
and also the idea that he like, it's a specific note that Lord Summerisle must dress as a woman through their like ritual parade, which is a huge deal too.
So maybe that's like, maybe it's this thing where you got a patriarchy masquerading as a matriarchy, or maybe it's just that like they're like ahead of the curve, and they're like, gender's a construct. This is we worship in
gender doesn't
these ways. We teach them the different things, but at the same time, I don't know. But like the thing is that it's not really put into practice. If this like one gender, if it's split into one gender learning, one gender not learning, and playing at the maypole, I don't know. Like because you have to on some level, like if they're worshiping reproduction, then somebody who has multiple sex organs typically can't reproduce. So does that fall short of holiness or whatever? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot that you could dig into that, I think. I just don't I don't have the words for it myself.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are going to solve it, but it's interesting to talk about. Like, I don't know, Lord Summerisle, like being a male, but also dressing as a female. Man, I don't know, man. Like maybe it's just talking about like the strengths of both genders and how like we truly require each other to procreate, and without that, we would have nothing, literally nothing.
The uncharitable reading is this, as far as I can tell, is if you're reading this from, if your point of view character is this guy Howie, who's a stick in the mud, but ultimately he's the guy not murdering people, right? So he is your hero, and he's the guy that's going to come out and you're going to be sympathetic towards, because as much as he is just kind of a dud a lot of the time in a blustery, stuffed shirt, him and his like Christianity backed morality is more in line with what you and I, or most people watching this movie, you got to think, are going to think about what's going on in this island.
Yeah,
so maybe the fact that Christopher Lee is supposed to at the end cross-dress is just at least in the parlance of the 1970s, them saying, look how perverse this religion is. Just another way of saying
villainous it is. Yeah.
You know, like it could very well be that. And I think it would contextually make sense for the year it came out. Like, I don't know. But
that's a fair read. Yeah. 1973, man, is a while ago. So.
And also, too, to flip it on its head, we think subverting these expectations, and again with the society, but even just in this film, he thinks they're going to sacrifice this girl virgin, this 12-year-old girl. And it's like, no, bish, it's this old man. Old man.
Which they co-opt his religion and use it against him because he's celibate. He's a virgin because of his religion.
So flipping this idea that, the victim is going to be this young girl. It's like, nope, it's going to be the man who feels like he's in charge, who feels like he's got things under control. Now, one thing we did this movie, I really enjoyed it. I really did. I think maybe there's some problems a couple times in its logic, not to just completely fawn over this film, but
please.
Talking about the man being the sacrifice, there's this very prominent scene where he is tempted to sleep with Willow, the woman who everybody sleeps with, who is next to him, like in his hotel or whatever.
That scene almost plays out like a Bollywood a musical number.
It was
so funny to me.
Yeah, I like your moves.
She is going, and she is going, and you get a little like Bush in that scene, which is not what I was expecting from this movie.
But anyways, the idea, what if she was successful? What if she tempted this man into sex where they're supposed to sacrifice a virgin, and yet
maybe they go back to the girl
is the next day? What would they do? Like, they would be screwed.
To that, I would say they were truly testing his mettle to prove his worth. Basically, like him not giving in to her advances just proves that he is indeed the sacrifice that they need to guarantee a fruitful harvest.
Yeah, but
it wasn't the day before. I think there was a couple days before, technically speaking. I don't know if that makes a difference.
I thought it was the night before, but either way,
because there's a whole day, but where he hasn't seen Summer Isle at that point, and then the next morning.
No. When she does her dance, he has seen Summer Isle.
Yeah, well, I think the day of the May Day parade,
maybe I'm got it mixed up.
He states I'm going to look through every fucking house on this island.
No, I know. He does, but so the first night he stays there before he's met Summer Isle is the night he looks out the window and the young boy is calling up to Willow, and that's when the young boy goes sleeps with Willow. The next day he goes and meets Summer Isle, and they have their whole discussion, and then he tries to leave.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then he can't.
Okay. I got it mixed up.
And then he gets tempted by Willow, and then the next day is the festival.
Yeah,
I think it's like a 3-day deal.
Well, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I got my times mixed up. But in any case, I don't know if it changes the argument that much in any way. But I just want to point it out. I don't know, man. It's a Wicker Man being burned. It's a Christian man whose Christianity is what actually makes him more appealing to burn than somebody else on that island, any other man on that island, or in most any other man, nationwide or worldwide. So you got to think. And, I wonder if he had fallen for that, if he had gone for it and they would find out, oh shit, this isn't the guy we thought he was.
It would have saved his life.
It would have saved his life, but it also might have gotten Rowan Morrison murdered.
Yeah.
As a virgin.
That's possible, yeah.
Would they have done that? Or does it have to be a man in there? Or what is the May Queen or whatever they're calling it in this movie? We need to talk about that. But is she, is she actually the one that's always sacrificed, or is she just the figurehead and they sacrifice a man every time? I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Actually sacrificed a person. They specifically state
that's right.
that they've always been prosperous. Sometimes
at least for many, many years.
Animals. So this is literally their first go at it.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. So that does kind of answer my question. And also, that reminds me that Summer Isle was talking about how this religion came to be on the island, and I found it that whole scene is amazing. Obviously, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
But the whole scene about the whole conversation about how his dad came to the island. I believe his dad came to the island with these ideas in tow, and this was a pagan island that had been converted to Christianity when it became under the crown. So this island has already suffered through some colonialism, which is why I've been bringing it up so much.
And they were suffering because of it, or not necessarily because of it.
At least that's Lord Summerisle's suggestion.
Sure.
And that's the line that we're to believe he's been telling them for years, or his father was, and he's just carrying on this torch. But they've had diminishing returns on that, and that kind of kiboshes his whole thing until like it comes out that, his plan is to up the ante and actually sacrifice a virginal man, a person, in order to get things back on track. Well, whether or not that actually works is not seen, which is really fascinating too.
It kind of pulls the rug on the idea of, and this is why I like that they show both ends, is because what it ultimately does is pull the rug on the idea of religion and how it's really just exploited by individuals for power regardless. Right. Because what's happening with Lord Summerisle, he's like the man in charge, and like everything's going great, and so he's able to like revel in it. But when you break it down and you read between the lines, and Christianity came in to this place, and ultimately these people were left in poverty and Christianity didn't do shit to help them. And so this man came in and cultivated these plants that would specifically grow on an island like theirs with volcanic rock and stuff like that, and was successful. And in adopting that pagan religion, was able to say, like, gain power through that and say, like, yep, see, I've saved you. But again, once that starts to wane away and the plant starts to die, then it's like, oh shit,
somebody's scraping
my
together
power is in question. And so what does it turn to? Well, I'm going to sacrifice a human being,
right.
Like it's
the status quo must be maintained, or else it falls to some other belief system.
Exactly. So it's not really about the religion itself. It's about maintaining the power, at least in the eyes of of contrasting like Lord Summerisle versus anyone within the Christianity power. Yeah.
And, it's worth noting that Christopher Lee is well known for being an outspoken atheist. So for his involvement in this movie as a figurehead for a religion that ultimately kills people, I got to think that his opinion of what was going on here was something along the lines of what you just said, which is, this is more about individuals co-opting people's hopes and people's, what people get into. Hasn't God gifted you, or hasn't this person gifted you through me and my wisdom? That's cult leaders. Like, that's what that is here. I can give you everything you want through this other figurehead, but I'm the voice piece. Just trust me on this.
It also sounds
and you could argue that that's just religion. So, I mean, that's kind of where I think Christopher Lee would jump off on this. And I haven't read much about his take on it, but I think that's probably in the realm of possibility for him.
It sounds like the character of Lord Summerisle, like, really has never had to do anything at all. Like,
no,
he talks about
he's a rich kid.
Exactly. Yeah, he talks about his grandfather like laying the groundwork and his father continuing the work, and like he's just sort of been riding the wave as far as we know. And then now all of a sudden they have like a shit harvest. So he's like, I don't know. I guess we got to sacrifice a person. Let's find the right one.
Well, yeah. If your flock starts doubting your power, you double down. If you want to stay in power, that's just a power dynamic thing, and that's like you could look to that again, like that's you could look at that as what religion is, as a way of taking complex events that happen in the world and simplifying them into this good, that bad. If you do X, Y will happen, etc. Which isn't a science. The thing that is a science, what's interesting is that he does include science as part of the religion, because the fruit that's grown there is a scientific product that's like, I don't remember how he described it, but it's like a breeding result.
Plants,
that could grow on this island that couldn't grow there before, but now they're having diminishing returns because the science is faltering for whatever reason or one reason or another.
How he has the answer. I like how he's like, no, you dumb shit. Like you're planting them wrong.
Right. It's not supposed to grow here.
Well, and also to like agriculture takes it does take a certain science, and the idea of Lord Summerisle, like he's just inherited this. He's not the one who had to create it. Yeah. He's 2 generations removed. And so he's just like kind of again riding the wave, but he doesn't have to. His like take isn't to science. His take isn't, let me fix this, let me maybe crossbreed some other plants. He's like, let's sacrifice somebody. That'll do it. Yeah. And so I like that take. One thing I know we got to land the plane quick. I want to have this discussion though, because it's something that me and Rob had a discussion when we watched it. And I want to get Randy's discussion. I want to put it on the podcast. The ending scene with the Wicker Man and how he is put in it, and he's like kind of calling out to God. Now, Rob had the Blu-ray.
Okay.
And in the Blu-ray,
I'm shocked I am at that.
Well, yeah, but first, the scene is amazing. So coming up onto the actual Wicker Man is haunting. It's like, oh my God. And then like them putting this guy in there and then setting it ablaze, and you flash between this man knowing he's met his fate and kind of calling out to his God versus these people singing their celebratory song, praising their God. And ultimately, what Rob's subtitle said, we kept it on subtitles the whole time, was him yelling out. His last words were, Daniel!
Yeah.
Screaming that out. And so we were like doing, and once it ended, it was like very impactful for us, and we're like, whoa, my God.
Yeah.
And so we were all looking it up and like different things like that. I was curious about just since Randy was not watching it with us, obviously, like what kind of impact that had on Randy. I want to just talk about that scene and that in general.
So specifically the Daniel thing?
Yeah, and just the ending scene and your impression
So
of it and how it affected you.
While we were Googling it, we found people like we found the script, and people thought he was saying different things in the script.
Yeah, like fail.
Script
The
said
script
different
said
things.
failure.
So like you thought he said
weird.
Daniel. First off,
I had subtitles on too, so I got Daniel.
You got Daniel,
Okay, so
okay.
we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Well, how
Yeah.
did you take Daniel then?
As his last word.
Well, I mean, I grew up Southern Baptist, so I immediately associated it with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego story.
Yep.
Which for those who don't know, that's a story about 4 men who were sentenced to burn for one reason or another, one of which is Daniel, the prophet. I believe he was a prophet. And the other 3 are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The latter 3 all burn alive, but Daniel, because of his faith, manages to survive and isn't harmed by the flames. I don't remember much beyond that, so forgive me. But so like he's calling to a patron saint, so to speak, for strength in a moment of actual burning alive, and hoping that his faith will push him through. I'm assuming, which is really, really heartbreaking to think about.
Yeah.
So that really, that was really fucking sad to me, because I was at that point, like, as much as he was like a dud throughout so much of the movie, he's, at the end of the day, like we said earlier, he's the guy that you want to identify with, not the murderers.
Human being just trying to do
he's
right.
a human being.
He's going
he's trying
out.
to save
he's
a girl.
trying to save a
He's
little girl
Yeah.
from death. Yeah.
However, I will say that scene did get some laughs out of me, because the people singing, I immediately associated it with the Who's of Whoville, and I was laughing my ass off about that. It's like, this is some
they're
twisted
singing, like,
Dr. Seuss shit.
They're singing cuckoo, cuckoo.
Yeah,
It is goofy, but to me that added to the pure horror of this man's reality.
Me too.
He's
Yeah.
burning alive, and they're singing gibberish.
Yeah,
Like,
well, and they're
that's
also-
a
It
nightmare.
might have actually undercut the tension like significantly for me, and might actually lead to a negative for me. But I also see, like, in a movie that's like all about dichotomy, that's the ultimate dichotomy, and I get why they would do that, like, structurally speaking.
Yeah.
It to me too, because like if you could put yourself, which you're supposed to in a way, put yourself in his shoes, Howie's shoes. Like, oh my God, I got duped. I was trying to do my job. I'm here. I'm powerless. There's nothing I can do. I agree with Bob. The idea of like, if you're looking out and trying to, because he tries to reason with people. Like, no, this is science. Like, you can't do this, and don't you understand? You're murdering somebody. And even to Lord Summer, like, don't you know they're going to turn on you next? And trying to use reason,
Sound logic.
and the only thing you're getting back is just kooky nonsense and
gibberish.
and
Yeah.
just that feeling of despair of like, oh God, even like logic, the rules that I base my life on to succeed and that has got me so far in life are failing and are going to fail.
And that's the thing, is like both parties also have at least one foot in science in some capacity, because that is actually what gets results.
Yeah.
And in this case, like, what gets results is, how you plant the crops, and what doesn't get results is appealing to people's with your religion who don't give a shit about your religion. So like, it's also a matter of results, and what results do does religion actually get you in this situation if you're faced with people who don't also subscribe to that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's perfectly poignant.
I came across, just talking about that ending one more. I did, when we were all researching it and like thinking about it, it was so impactful for us at the time. Apparently the name Daniel apparently means God is my judge. And that was kind of his final like kind of point. And when he was laying, when you kind of zoom in on his face, he's laying in the Wicker Man and he's like, you know, God, accept me into heaven, accept my soul, or whatever. That was a powerful moment for me. But just a little side note there, it did come up that said Daniel means God is my judge.
That is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that. It's like the what names mean thing, I feel like has been so co-opted by like people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about that I always kind of shy away from it.
Yeah.
I've heard that Andrew means like any number of things at this point.
Yeah.
So
it means
I just kind of don't put a lot of stock in it.
Swinging, I'm sure.
That's absolutely
the most
what it means,
important
sure.
thing is, what does Randy mean?
It means dog shit. Asshole.
I don't know an
fucker.
Andrew,
Totally.
but I'm curious about Randy.
I do know a Randy. Gentlemen, this has been a fantastic discussion. We do have to land the plane like Soju alluded to. Let's go ahead and rate The Wicker Man from 1973 out of 5. Juice, would you please do us the honors? Kick us off. How you feel?
Dude, I'll kick it off. I've enjoyed this discussion, and I thought that I would when we watched this movie. We watched it, me, Rob, and Alice together, and I enjoyed it. Just the ride. I really did. I enjoyed the ride all the way through. Even in the opening scenes, I was like, I'm loving this setting that they're setting up. Just the overview shots of the plane flying in and just the islands, but then it was also volcanic, and him even coming into this little town. It was very quaint, but even as he explores the town, I loved the setting. I kept saying it over and over. I love this fucking setting.
True, he did.
The music,
great.
I didn't know like that there was going to be so much prominent music in this film. There wasn't in the Nick Cage film, so I was thrown off. But I loved it though. It added to the kind of authenticity of this setting. These people in this pub singing the song, just fucking chilling, hanging back, plucking these songs about banging this chick upstairs. Even like it was funny too about they're singing about the daughter that's there, and everybody's like having a good go of it. It was a perfect kind of mood setting or like understanding of what this society is up to in a very clever kind of way. It was very helpful to have the subtitles on. I love the songs. They were good. I don't know. They helped with the setting. So setting was great. The songs were great. The fucking dialogue is on point. That discussion that Howie and Christopher Lee have, so good. And I loved how they kind of laid it out that way. But for the most part, anybody who has any kind of lines in here plays it well. I think the acting is done well. The dialogue is done well. There's a couple of scenes that are like, what? Like where the chick is dancing around, tempting him, and he's just like fucking sweating in his bed and shit. It's played maybe a little heavy. So I could see like critiques on that for sure. It didn't personally bother me, but I would have no problem with anybody like critiquing that, kind of writing that, because it was outside of the normal tone, it seemed, of the movie, or just played it too hard. They played their hand a little too hard. There might be like some flaws in logic, like what if he actually slept with the woman? He wouldn't be pure, and then what would Lord Summerisle do? Like he'd have no scapegoat. So I mean, there's like things like that, but overall, from like an enjoyability standpoint, I love the whole ride, and I love thinking about it and talking about it afterwards. I've loved this discussion today. I don't have a whole lot of critiques, but I could see where someone could have critiques, so I would be fine with it. But I loved it personally, and I see why it's a classic, and I can see where fucking a shit ton that Midsummer like kind of ripped from the was inspired by. It really gave me those Midsummer vibes. I'm a little surprised at myself, honestly, but I'm going to give this a 5. I really dug on this one, The Wicker Man. I really dug on it. It was well made, well crafted, well acted, and had some great points from like character arcs and like theological ideas to chew on. There's just so much meat on this book. Like there's so much to pull from this movie that I'm giving it a 5.
Very impressive 5 from Soju. I'm going to slide into these DMs real quick.
Bob, the Wicker Man.
Wicker Man.
What'd you think out of 5?
I enjoyed this film quite a bit. Maybe a little bit less than you, Juice. Specifically regarding the music, it fit the setting very well. I don't disagree there. But to me, it sort of generally annoyed, like as the movie like went on and like kept having these like folk tunes,
like the amount of it
pop up. It did start to like grind on my nerves. Like, okay, everybody is a musician and everybody wants to fuck everybody else. Like I understand this now. But I will say, like, the cinematography really stood out to me. Like, from the first scene where he lands on his little, like, airplane, and, like, the camera is, like, very clearly mounted on it, and it's, like, rocking in the waves. And it's, like, trying to focus on the people on the island. And he's, like, saying, hey, send over a buoy, or a dinghy, rather. Send over a dinghy. And they're like, nah, dog. And it's just, like rocking continuously. It's, like, okay, like, like whatever's going to happen from here on out is not going to be pleasant. They don't want you, and like the movement of the camera conveys that. I thought that was just like a really brilliant way to like enter into the island. I thought that was great. There's also a lot of like somewhat nuanced things throughout this movie. I don't even know if that's really the right word, but like you've got the little girl who like ties a beetle to a nail inside of a desk, which is just sort of like generally unsettling. There's another woman that's like weeping on a headstone. There's another woman that's like breastfeeding in a graveyard. When they're like describing to the whole class full of little girls about like the May Day parade and how it's like a phallic symbol. There's the baker, like we visit like the baker's shop, and he's baking this huge loaf of bread that's the shape of a person, and it's being baked inside of a big metal coffin, which is like generally unsettling. This like every person in this community seems like bright and cheery and welcoming, but like on the flip side, there's something that's like a little bit off about them. Like if you linger and look just a little bit longer than like a general handshake and go about your day, like you'll see something that's slightly off. And I like that about this movie. Like he can just feel that something's wrong as soon as he arrives, and like through his investigations you find out eventually like, okay, shit's kind of awry. But everybody's nice, right? Like nobody's outright mean or rude, but you can just like feel shit is wrong. And I think that's done with somewhat of a delicate hand.
It's Lynchian in a way.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It could have been overdone. Like if another filmmaker made this movie, it could have been overdone. The remake is less subtle, man. It's just...
Is it? Are you sure?
I think so.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. I don't know. I dig that. I don't know. Like, I don't think I can give this a 5. I'm going to give this a 4.5. I think probably just out of like rewatchability. Like I would rewatch this, but like I'd want to wait a while. Outside of that, like I don't have major complaints, other than like the music grinds my gears a little bit. That's more of a personal thing, though. It's not like bad music; it's more personal. I'm gonna give this a 4.5. Randy, how do you feel?
So I mean, I'm pretty much in line with a lot of what you guys said. This movie definitely has a lot a lot to talk about in it, and that's its biggest strength. There's a clear dichotomy happening here, but it's not just one dichotomy, it's several, and there's a compare and contrast going on that you can spend hours talking about. I think the thing, in terms of negatives, I don't have a ton. I want to address Rob's thing about the music, which really the music in general, which is that I didn't find it annoying, but I did agree that it was sort of like it had diminishing returns. But also, I want to point out that, and maybe it's just me, maybe only I picked up on this, or maybe it's not even the case, and I'm just projecting something else onto it. But some of the music choices were not so much like local folk songs as they were 70s folk music for hippies. That's what I got from a lot of it. I mean, some of it clearly was folklore sort of stuff, like the singing in the pub or whatever, which happens, like a pub song. That's a very established thing, in Europe. So it's not like, out of the question that should be the most localized thing, is the thing that people are singing, as part of the movie. But as far as the like undercurrent soundtrack, there's a lot of stuff that could have just been like Jim Croce B-sides or something. And I don't know that actually helped anything. To me, it was like, those were dated, but not dated in the sense that it actually, made me feel like feel like a part of this town, or feel like entrenched in this town as much as it was entrenched in the 70s and 70s filmmaking. So that was a little bit of a distraction for me. But it was not like, I really like the folk stuff. I really like the true like local folklore songs and things. I wish it was all that personally. I would like, to me, it's like, there's a difference between, I don't know, like I said, Jim Croce and like a sea shanty. Those are different things. Like this movie should have been all sea shanty level folklore songs. That would have made it, just tip top for me, with the exception of maybe like an outro song or something. But that's a hair split, I really, really fucking love this movie. I think the acting is really good. I think the characters are very, very deep, and they have a lot going on, a lot to dig through. And they're like archetypal, but very unique at the same time. I'm just kind of cowed by how good some of this writing is. I will say that kind of the thing that's drawn me back here that I want to be careful about is I want to know more. I don't know that I have really gotten to the heart of this movie in just our brief discussion and our first viewing. I feel like I want to like take watch some sort of discussion about this, or watch like not a sermon. What's the word I'm looking for? A dissection of this broken down from different perspectives, because I know it has the legs to do that. Some of it's subtle, some of it isn't, but I want to see all of it and see the breadth of what this movie is actually trying to do from a filmmaker perspective, and what it actually accomplishes from different points of view, which is what great movies and great stories do. But like, it also makes me worry that like maybe there's some like undercurrent here that I'm not considering, that like I said, like an uncharitable interpretation might exist, and that might be the actual intention. And I would feel fucking shitty for giving 5 stars to fucking, I don't know, what is that fucking movie? The Ku Klux Klan movie, whatever that fucking thing is called. Blood Diner. Yes, that one. No, I don't know. I just feel a little like, I'm a little hesitant to give it the full round because of that, and because of like some of that music stuff, some of the niddly, hair split things. But like with this discussion, I think that really pushed me to embrace what I feel right now about it, which is that this movie has a wealth of stuff to discuss, and it's clearly well considered, if nothing else. And it's got so much going for it, so much to talk about, so much I want to know more about, and so much rewatchability, like Rob said, that I feel like embracing a 5 star is the way to go. So that's where I'm at now. That may change in time with subsequent viewings or subsequent readings that I find out about it. But right now, I'm just really kind of bowled over because there's not a lot you could pick apart about this movie. It's so densely populated with talking points and interesting, dichotomies. What else does fucking snobby blowhard like me want but that shit?
Pinky out, Randy. Pinky out. Man,
my
Randy's
pinkies are out.
out this week.
Amen, brother.
Bob's wishing he could watch Blood Diner again.
No, hey. I would rewatch this before Blood Diner. With Randy's 5.0, that's going to make our aggregate a 4.8. Solid score
Whoa.
from the Straight Chilling crew. Without further ado, let's jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users think about The Wicker Man.
Certified dead.
All right, boys and girls, here we have our Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to give these gentlemen the chance to guess, within the best of their abilities, what the critics and user score, the aggregate scores on Rotten Tomatoes are for this film, Wicker Man 73. We're going to start with Bob today, and we're going to start with the critics. There are 55 critic reviews counted here. I'm assuming because of its age that it doesn't have a ton more than that, but keep that in mind. Juice, why don't you tell me what you think this movie receives from the critics, aggregate-wise?
Well, you said Bob's going to kick us off, and then he came to me.
I'm sorry.
Who do you want?
Sorry, I was reading and talking at the same time.
No
which is a big mistake.
That's fine.
Let's go with Bob. I'll go with my first instinct.
Okay. I feel like this is... I know this is a classic. I feel like this is definitely one that critics would fawn over because it's well written, well acted, Christopher Lee, et cetera, unless they're like tried and true Catholics, they might be a little offended. But like outside of that, this is a great movie. There's not a lot to complain about here. I'm gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna go with give me a 90%.
90 percentile. Soju, what are you feeling?
I'm trusting Bob's instincts. I agree. Christopher Lee, he throws a lot of weight around. Critics love the guy, I assume. Not enough to save the Howling Deuce, but still,
he's
I
not
think
Jesus.
that movie was higher rated than I anticipated it being. I don't know why. I think it's going to be high, and there's two numbers that was sticking out to me. One was 93, and one was the Project 86.
Oh, okay.
Rob's taking the 90s, taking kind of a firm stand on the high end, so I think I'll be risky, probably wrong, but I think I'm going to go with the Project 86.
Always hedging your bets.
I know.
This is wrong, but it is my guess.
I'm going to Project 86.
This is my wrong
me
guess. All right, so Bob, you are going to take it this time. You were only 1 fucking point off. 89%
Damn.
certified.
89.
Fresh.
Okay, I would have missed it either
Can I
way.
get a
I will say, I feel like I've been given a lot of props. I fucking love her, so I'm happy to do it. Nicole, did you guys see Nicole's meme that she made?
She killed it, man.
Killed it!
I guess
she
I
made
missed that.
a hell skeet meme
with Skeet
with
Ulrich.
fucking Skeet front, and it's when he's licking his fingers.
It's
And
I saw the cheat. I guess I saw the picture, but not the caption.
Yeah.
Oh man, that shit killed me.
It's
Also,
perfect.
I
It's
love
perfect.
it too because she's such a huge Skeet fan.
Yeah.
So she like is hot for fucking
A
Skeet.
Skeet Ulrich
We can't all be
fan.
perfect.
She's a fan of the actor.
Well. Anyway, shouts outs to Nicole of the Light and Shadow podcast. She kicks so much ass and is
And she, I think,
solid
do believe
meme.
she's done an episode on this, if I'm not mistaken, on Wicker Man. So, if
Yeah.
I am correct in that memory, then go check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely. Slam your earballs into it.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, that was very subdued. All right. Underwhelming, you might say. All right, so why don't you kick us off here with the critic score? There are 25,000 plus. 25,000 plus.
Wow, that is a shit ton. 25,000 plus. This has got to be high. I'm going to go with my first instinct, I think, and say I think people probably dig on this movie. So I'll go high and say 93%. Higher than the critics.
93%. All right. Bobby, can you give it to me?
I'm gonna double down with my 90%, please.
90 percentile. Okay, all right. Well, Soju, you should have hedged your bets again. This here is an 82% from the audience.
Damn,
82.
82. Bob,
I didn't
that's
wanna
a hell skeet sweep.
Yeah, Hill Scoot.
This-
Our first
skeet
ever
sweep.
hell skeet sweep.
too bad you can't go for the turkey. If you can recite for me perfectly the critics' consensus, you win the turkey.
I can't because I do my best.
Okay,
to
well, I'll
avoid
do it then because I forgot to do it a second ago. The critics' consensus is this intelligent horror film, is subtle in its thrills and chills with an ending that is both shocking and memorable. All of which is accurate, I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah,
I
there
do
you go.
concur.
82%. I would have this is one where I probably would have done well because in my soul, I knew that a lot of people don't have fucking patience for movies like this.
Yeah.
I remember how people reacted to Midsummer. It's like, this movie's boring and gross.
It is also like an hour longer than this movie. Like, this movie flies to me anyways. Like, I was fully engaged.
I wouldn't say it's flied, but I think it's like, yeah, I mean, I get you. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's shorter.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a legit 90-minute movie. Like, it doesn't linger. Like, it's not action-packed or anything, but like...
But you've got like
the scenes matter.
But you've got like the Bollywood musical number scene and shit, which I'm sure people would be like, this doesn't make sense. Why is this movie just having naked women on screen for so long just to do it? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's the 70s and it's a movie about sexuality. So maybe shut the fuck up. But, that's just my read on the situation. I kind of feel like people wouldn't watch this movie. And also like deeply religious people who maybe take offense at some of the things happening here. Maybe, I mean, I got to think that happens with any movie. Like it happened with The Exorcist, it probably would happen here. That people would take some things out of this movie that were anti their religion and turn on it.
Easy to take offense from this movie for sure.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I do believe it's time for some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right, so this is one of those films that had a shit ton of trivia attached to it. There was 105 pieces of trivia from IMDb trivia. So it's one of those things though too where a lot of it was bullshit that I kind of had to weed through. I've turned some of them into a game, so hopefully we have a good time here.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. My God.
This is something we've talked about before, and the source of one of our favorite jokes here on the podcast, talking about age discrepancy.
But
the girls in the classroom are supposed to be around age 12. But Leslie Mackey, who was the girl who played Daisy, I'm actually not really sure
that's the Beetle girl.
Is it? Okay, she was not 12. This is the one they single out.
She was 74
as not being 12. So I want you guys to guess how old she was. I'll let Randy go first.
She was just a puppet. I think I'm going to put her at 26.
26. Okay.
She looked older to me. Like, I mean,
she was okay.
Like
Bob,
they did her down. She had the pigtails, but to me she looked older.
Yeah. Okay, Bob.
I'll go with 13.
Okay, let me do. Wow, Bob. Randy said Randy's still going to win. Bobby really fucked up on that. But Leslie Mackey, who played Daisy, was 21 at the time. Talking about sexualizing those young bucks.
She looked like a child.
I mean, she looked like fucking Moaning Myrtle, and I'm pretty sure the woman who played her was like in her 20s also.
She legit was. Actually, she was older than that. The chick who played Moaning Myrtle was like, I think like in her 40s or something.
So that's maybe that influenced my decision, but I immediately kind of was like,
that's a good call.
Got Moaning Myrtle vibes.
21 at the time, and she was supposed to be playing a 12-year-old. That's not chill.
That is insane.
I mean, it's fine.
How many different locations did they use for shooting in this film? Okay, so I'm going to start with Bob. How many different filming locations do you think?
Can you define that? Like, are you talking about like interiors, like exteriors? What are you talking?
Or like cities?
I don't know.
Okay.
It just says locations.
Okay, so
it says this movie was shot in blank different locations is what I'm basing this off of. And I do have a reference point that I'll mention after this, but that's all I got for you.
Okay. It's hard to answer this question. Obviously, it's multiple different settings because there's like the inn, there's the bar, there's like a hotel room, there's a cemetery. I don't know if I'm supposed to count those up. Like there's a scene on a boat.
I feel like maybe it's filming locations. That seems to make more sense because otherwise you're just counting different
I assume
scenes.
like filming locations too, but I don't know.
One. I think it feels like it was filmed in a singular town.
Okay.
So I'll say one.
Randy?
Yeah, I kind of got that impression as well, but since you took it, I'll go, I'm going to say maybe the castle isn't on this island. Maybe the bluff at the end of the movie that the Wicker Man is sat on, maybe that's not in the same same setting. So I'm going to go with 3.
Okay. This movie was shot in 25 different locations.
Cool,
now, I did
cool.
read...
Good job, filmmakers. You tricked me.
I did read one piece of trivia earlier that said while they were saying like this was based in like Scotland or something, the overhead shots, I think from the intro where they were doing like the island shots, was actually shot in South Africa for some reason. So I don't know what's up with that.
All right.
And also this is another thing that they kind of set it as springtime, but the film was actually shot in like October, November. So a lot of the stuff kind of had to be glued on, like the trees of shooting locations they were in. So I actually do think that it wasn't like a singular town that they shot in, like it's portrayed, which is pretty impressive, I guess, in some ways.
All cold, pretend it's hot.
Yeah.
Talking about everybody going surfing.
All right. So that's Randy with Deuce to Rob's 0.
Sorry to take your hat trick from you, bud.
That's fine.
Let's see if we can get a zippity zappity sweep here. Lord Summerisle's speech about living with animals is a paraphrase of a poem by a very famous poet. Can you tell me who that is? Who guessed
Which
first
one?
last time?
I'm sorry.
I don't know. You have to guess. You have to tell me.
No, I'm sorry. Like which scene? Which
Lord Summerisle's
monologue?
speech about living with animals is a paraphrase of a poem.
Shit, I don't know if I remember that.
A certain poet.
Can you like? Sorry, go ahead.
I think Randy. I think you guessed first.
I guess I don't remember that well. Can you guys help me remember the scene?
I don't remember it either.
Living with animals.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't particularly
Also, like, I don't
remember that
fucking
either.
know a whole lot of poets, so
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't help me.
Kid Rock? No,
Yes.
It was probably fucking Kanye West. That's my
Rob,
guess.
name one poet that you know. That will be your
Ralph
guess.
Waldo Emerson is my guess.
Okay, Emerson for Randy.
Emerson,
What's
sure.
that
Why not?
Frost motherfucker?
Yeah, who is that? Can you name him?
Mark Frost.
Bill Frost.
Frost.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Okay, we'll just
Mark or Phil Frost. One of
we'll
the
just give this up to illiteracy. Lord Summerisle's speech about living with animals is a paraphrase of a poem by Walt Whitman.
Whitmang.
Wait, Walt Wicker Man.
Walt Wicker Man. According to composer Gary Carpenter, Lorraine Peters, who was the rear body double for Britt Eklund. Okay, so I included this shit. It's not my forte, but I thought
Shocking.
it was I thought it was actually interesting trivia. So, the rear body double for Brett Eklund, who was the girl who did the whole naked dance scene. So that actually wasn't her. Bit of trivia. She had a nude body double during her nude dancing. Was also the naked woman weeping on the grave. Okay, and she was credited as such. Peters, the naked body double, was having her period on that day, and because of the camera angle, she couldn't wear a tampon, so she was dripping blood on the grass.
Yeah, that's actually. Oh man, that's so thematically appropriate.
Yeah, the director said, consequently, and despite our best efforts of the crew to swab up after each take, DNA evidence probably survives at the location to this day.
Good lord.
What?
Damn.
What?
Damn.
DNA evidence of what? Dancing?
I think he's talking about the blood on the grave.
Oh, I know. I understand where the DNA is coming from, but I don't know why anybody would be running DNA on this fucking gravesite.
Yeah.
great, I guess. I kind of like the period blood in Midsummer, not to go back to that, but like that was weirdly effective, but it's also within the realm of the religion about reproduction.
Yeah.
So
this is weird. I don't know why I want to include it. It seems, I don't know. And
this one's weird?
Well, not weird, but I don't know. I want
This gets
get
weirder?
some thoughts on it. In 2008 interview, director Robin Hardy said it wasn't Jane Jackson or Lorraine Peters, regardless of musical director. Okay, hang on.
This is going to be weirder than swabbing up pussy blood. That's what you're
Said it
telling me.
wasn't Jane Jackson or Lorraine Peters who they filmed nude from the back during Brett Eklund's infamous naked dance scene, since Eklund appears topless but didn't want to show her rear. It was a stripper he hired in Glasgow, Scotland, that vaguely resembled Eklund. He said, "We had to find someone rather quickly. The girl we found in a club was promised back the next day to the place she was performing. To my distress, I discovered that she was still with
that
the
sounds
crew.
like a hot Friday night.
That she was still with the crew, having a good time 2 weeks later."
Damn.
Eklund said in an interview on BBC's One Friday Night with Jonathan Ross that the story she heard too. "I didn't want to show my bottom, but I shot myself in the foot." Oh my God. They put in the ugliest, biggest bottom in the world. Mine was much smaller and much nicer.
Wow.
I recently found out it was a stripper from Glasgow.
Damn.
Shit ton of dollars at night.
Eklund said
Wow.
that she was less than pleased with her body double and wished she had felt confident enough to bear all. She confirmed that she was pregnant during the shoot, but denied long-standing rumors that this was the real reason she refused to strip, claiming she did not know she was pregnant at the time. That's just a lot to unpack.
So not only is that maybe not the woman that you were just talking about, but also she was a stripper from Glasgow, and also she was pissed because she had a bigger butt. The actual actress,
The actual actress, yeah, she said, which I didn't notice. Being bad or gross, but like
she looked fine to me. But it's also like, I don't know, like it's also like, again, going to theme, like wide hips are biologically more disposed to childbirthing, so I would think that that's a good thing thematically.
I don't know. She was saying she had a bigger, grosser butt than she did. I guess that's really funny. There was one more piece. I haven't read it fully, but it seemed very interesting, so I want to read it in full. It's another long one. Sorry for that. The 1970s was a pretty crazy time in Britain. The swinging 60s had left quite an impact on the nation, and the sexual repression was slowly lifting. It was at this time that the filmmaker started to explore sexual difference. Nudity on film had once been a source of scandal but its growing use was being treated more naturally. The Wicker Man director Robin Hardy intended to explore this, creating a contemporary society that was pre-Christian and quite liberal when it comes to sex. One of the reoccurring themes for the Summer Isle residents was a sexual freedom that resulted in a lot of nude cavorting and dancing. This was used to show the islanders' strong connection to nature, alongside angering and provoking the film's protagonist, a devout Christian called Sergeant Howie, whose sexual repression was a mirror for Britain at the time. Okay, so I guess it was just kind of like a middle finger to the general audience of Britain, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was going to be more interesting than it was. And then,
that does validate a lot of what we've been saying about the sexuality and the religion aspect of it.
And the very last thing I want to know is, due to a very small budget, most of the cast, including Christopher Lee, worked without pay.
Wow.
Damn.
Christopher Lee did this shit for free. And I did want to know, Christopher Lee has many times stated that this was like his favorite movie of his that he has done.
Nice.
Oh, is that so?
In several interviews,
that makes
he has
sense.
stated that this is like amongst like his most proud.
It's always the passion projects, man. Like it really is.
Christopher Free.
And he did that shit for free 50.
Damn.
Dude, and that makes sense though, again, because he's like pretty outspoken atheist throughout his life, and I feel like this movie might be his, like, I mean, not his because he didn't write it, I assume, but like his what he looks to as his most pointed work on that front. You know,
it's a hell of a role.
Anti-religion,
like he kills it.
He fucking kills it.
He just nails it. He also is. This is the youngest I've ever seen him in a role too, which is wild, it was crazy seeing him this young.
You like it? Did you like it? Yeah, you did.
Did you like seeing him young, Randy? Is what Bob is asking you.
He's asking me. I thought he was. I don't know. It was interesting to see the man when he wasn't. You know,
sounds like yes.
Dooku aged.
Yeah,
sounds like yes.
The most interesting motherfucker we've ever talked about too. I just want to talk
we've talked about him a lot
episode.
recently.
We have,
yeah. Between this and Howling 2,
Howling Deuce.
Yeah, Howling 2.
Howling Deuce. Juice, thank you for the trivia. Let's go ahead and jump into the Cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter and why are we hunting them?
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter. We're looking for Cooter of the week who hits with the highest points. The 5 points are smug arrogance, sexual deviance, manipulation, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. I want to give a special shouts outs to Matt this week, who is hunting long before I even watched this movie.
Same.
Dude was on Slack hunting these Cooters. He was excited.
He was like, fuck Blood Diner. I'm talking about the Wicker Man.
Straight into Wicker Man.
Which is a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, it is. But also he jumped straight into the Cooter talk as well. So, boys, do you have any nominations for Cooter of the week?
Yeah.
Bob, hit me with it.
I mean,
I would say the whole cult of Summer Isle.
Like, okay, we've been in this, like, we've been jumping into this whole, like, let's get this collective Cooter going. Is there any one singular character first that we can lock down as Cooter of the week?
So,
I think it's still valid though, because I don't know of one. Like, I guess Rob, did you have one? Sorry, I was cutting you off.
If I had to pick one, so I do think the cult as a whole, yes. But I would say if I had to pick one person, I would pick Lord Summer Isle because they all follow his lead. So he's the cult head. So if we're gonna pick it down to one person, pick him. Like, he is manipulating his entire flock.
So I do think, yes. So manipulation, I think that comes through strong at the end, especially when how he calls his ass out and he's like, look, you know, your grandfather based this off of science. You know, you're kind of second generation or third generation into this. You don't know what the fuck's going on. These people are going to turn on you. You're just manipulating them into murdering somebody for crops. Totally. So manipulation, I think, is a hit on that. What else?
So this is debatable, I guess, but the sexual deviance, like everybody who is engaging in a sexual act is doing so on their own accord, but also, like, it seems as though they're, like, offering up this, like, young boy to quote Aphrodite, who is Willow, the character of Willow, and that's, like, accepted and agreed upon by everybody in the cult. Like, everybody's sort of, like, cheering this boy on because he's, like, going.
How old was he, you think? Like, I don't really remember this scene that well.
He was like 17.
Yeah, it's hard to put a number on it, but a young to mid-teenage boy.
Yeah.
And this woman is, I don't know, 25 maybe? If that's a guess, but
yeah, that's fair to say. She's probably at least in her
but
early
it's very
20s.
like ritualistic in manner. Like,
but here's the thing: like, this actually might break the Cooter system a little bit, because now we're getting into like we're basing this off of a morality that we grew up in, that we're like the entire basis of this. Like, who's to say that that's not like that is technically wrong? Let's say he's 17, she's 25. I mean, 17 and 25, like there's people that debate that. I think it's kind of twisted, but I grew up in this culture. I don't know. Like, so then you get right back into the thick of
we even had this discussion
morality
tonight.
and philosophy.
So
like,
this to me is fucked And I'll explain why. Because so there is an older gentleman who is escorting this younger gentleman to this older woman to have sex. Like he's like, as far as we know, it's really just not up to him at all. It's like, you are the sacrifice we're giving to this woman for her pleasure, is what it almost
was Lord Summerisle the guy that was with him?
No, I think it was some other guy.
I think so, yeah, okay.
Some other guy. I don't know the character's name.
I don't know why I don't remember this scene very well, but go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's almost it's almost like a play on that shit from the 80s.
He is escorted. That is a little strange. It's not just the young man.
Your dad walks you down the aisle.
I know, but walking
entirely
you
disassociative
to your first bone. I mean, that's kind of weird.
Well, in theory, that's a wedding, but
that's
like not how it typically actually.
Prima nocta existed,
but like this guy is like hearkening out to Willow's
that's
like
so fucked up
window, and it's like, I have a sacrificial lamb for you, basically, and then ushers this child up, and the rest of the drunkards in the bar are like singing a song about like, oh, gentle Johnny, knowing this kid's about to go get his first bone on. It's just very awkward to me.
That has nothing to do with Christopher Lee, though.
Well, I mean, he condones the entirety of this cult. Like, they follow his lead.
If he is the progenitor of all of these sacrifices and rituals, then
that's how I'm connecting it. Like, as far as like Christopher Lee specifically, like, we don't ever see him do anything hypersexual. He sings like a weird song to this woman. It seems like they're about to have sex, but it also seems like they're closer in age. It's not like a big deal.
It's a very thorny proposition. I feel like it's a questionable thing.
Looking at tire moments, his kilt with his ruffled, he's got this like rub when he's playing the piano. Yeah. I don't know about that get up.
I wouldn't
That's some
wear it,
froofy rich dude shit.
I will say, like, also, he can pull it off.
I don't know if he pulled it off. Also, there was something about his. It wasn't even the fact that he was dressing as a woman that completely bothered me. Something about his like slack sneaker combo with the like woman outfit really bothered me. The sneakers,
the specific shoe choice.
Yeah, the specific shoe choice.
I mean, sneakers are kind of like stock standard for cults at this point.
Honestly, they're walking up a fucking mountainside. You gotta be comfortable.
Did anybody else pick up on that?
He did this for free. No, I didn't.
Let's say that, but I don't know. I felt like his looking attire he had a couple times that was justifiable for Cooter status.
It's questionable to me, and like I think he can pull it off, but it's questionable to me primarily because it feels like it leans into hubris in a way, like a man would dress that way because he is very fucking proud of himself.
Oh, you're talking about the kilt situation?
Yeah, like, you gotta have a lot of pride to pull off a lot of these outfits.
You gotta let him breathe, you know? Yeah, I don't know, something about that screamed a little
I've been to a
Cooter
pride parade. That does track.
Was he pathetic at any time? I feel like his overall idea of like, again, I agree that he feels like this rich boy that kind of fell into it and he's scrambling for a solution to save his own ass.
I feel like he's too, like, you know, I think he's an inversion of an archetype, and that archetype is so like so standardized. Like, this is a comment on religion. This is a comment on religious leaders, and like, he's not doing a lot of individual acts that I would qualify for many of these points. And even the cult as a whole, like, well, there's a lot of debate to be had about that sort of thing, but certainly, am I coming through okay? Sorry,
you dipped out for a second there, Randy. You said certainly, and then
okay, sorry about that. Okay, well, I don't know what I was getting to, but like, so I'll say for Summerisle himself, manipulation, certainly, like, that's unquestionably the case for the whole town, really. Smug arrogance, certainly. This is a rich dude who has people fawning over him as the leader of this religion and island culture, despite the fact that he's unable to provide for them. Maybe that's also patheticness in some level, but I think it's still kind of debatable because he's like an abstract concept of a character in some ways. It's tough to pin him down on these things.
It's pathetic to
looking
use...
attire, I think a lot of it's...
I think it's pathetic to use it like a little girl as sort of like bait. Yeah, to coax this dude out that you're just manipulating to sacrifice because like you don't know what the fuck else to do. Crops aren't growing. I don't know. Let's just murder a person. Like that's pretty pathetic in general. Also, you did
yeah, I can give you that.
You did nothing to earn any of this for yourself, which is also kind of pathetic.
I also see him as pathetic in a way that, like, it almost felt like he was strong, or like standing on this strong kind of platform when he almost like bitch slaps him a little bit theologically with the whole like, didn't Mary get impregnated by a ghost, and yet. And yeah, on top, I mean, and it leads into the smug arrogance a little bit, but he doesn't play it as super smug. He's playing it like he's this kind of like gentle.
Yeah.
But
he plays it like a religious leader.
Yeah, but once it comes around to the idea of like you plan to burn this man the whole fucking time, and you're gonna stand there and smugly like preach to him about this shit instead of just like snatching this dude up and throwing him in the Wicker Man, like leading him on this whole like Mary Chase and also like bitch slapping around about his like religion and shit like that. I don't know, man. There's just this like an extra
I think smug
taste.
is fair to say. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's just like an extra taste that kind of screams Cooter level to me.
Okay, I say we book him. I think that like patheticness is a little more debatable. The sexual deviance is such a quagmire that I don't even really know what I feel about that. And the look and attire is kind of similar because it's the 70s. It's England. It's a dude who is doing ritual shit for his cult. It's kind of tough to say what's exactly normal for me from my perspective. So I would say that with manipulation, smug arrogance, and patheticness, I think we could book him, right?
Yeah, I feel comfortable doing so. Yeah. We got him.
Somebody's got to burn.
Lord Summer Isle. He's our Wicker Man for this week. We got him, boys.
All right.
Locked and loaded. I think let's go ahead and coax over what we've been watching this week because we're running a little bit long. We got a few voicemails to get to, so let's go and jump into our Hotline Scream.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We had a whole list of prompts over the past few weeks that people are calling in regarding, and we're just going to get right into them because God knows I cannot recap all of them. First up, we're going to hear from Michael. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, what's up, guys? Michael from Horrorpocalypse calling in. I've got a few prompts to catch up on, and I know there's a time limit, so I'm going to try to be quick. First and foremost, Juice. I just got done listening to the Godzilla vs. Kong episode, and I agree with you about 95%. I think there was way too much exposition, not enough going... I don't think there was enough explanation, actually, but I think there was way too much discussion. Too many things were left wide open, and, I mean, Wingard has already said that this is the ultimate version, the theatrical cut, and I just don't understand how you can claim that this is the ultimate cut, but have so much left wide open, so much story arc left to your own personal interpretation. I mean, that can be good, but in a MonsterVerse movie like this, no, I don't agree with it. But I agree with you about 95%. Next, horror covers at the video stores that always freaked me out. I never really had one from the time I was little. One of my earliest memories was actually seeing Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the backseat of my parents' car in the drive-in. So, I mean, that's one of my earliest memories. I never really had anything that jumped out and scared me. In fact, the only movie that ever really scared me and made my heart race was the original Pang Brothers version of The Eye. That was the only thing that ever really got to me in that way. As for movies that I used to rent all the time, Ninja 3: The Domination. I think I rented that movie when I was a kid. Oh, God, at least 12 times. My dad was always sick and growing up in hospitals all the time. My mom would always spend a lot of time at the hospital. If I wasn't there, she would rent me movies to watch, and that was always my go-to. I always picked that one up, and it was just so much fun to watch. And for my haunted house, I've actually kind of put that into thought because we have a group down here, a nonprofit group called the JCs, and they used to put on haunted houses, and I knew a friend of mine that worked there, and he used to ask me for my input. My first one was a Hellraiser house. We had the pillar in the middle of the room and all different kinds of masks stapled to the pillar. One person standing inside it, turning around. His head was poking through, and he was, of course, Hell Priest, and the slats on the walls, light would light up, and there'd be other Cenobites in there that you wouldn't see until the lights came up, and they would reach out. Lots of fun. Not really scary, just lots of fun. But anyway, guys, I tried to cram as much in as short a time as possible. Hopefully you got all of that, and love listening to you guys. Can't wait for the next episode, and I can't wait to have you back on my show. If you guys want to do any kind of show, let me know, and I'll see if we can put one together for you. So have a great day, guys.
Some good that's a good ass fucking haunted house, I would say. I really like the sound
I
of
was
that.
trying to like lock in the idea, but yeah, it sounded.
Well, they had like the column or whatever in the middle, and there's a guy inside, and there's plenty of masks around, but one of them's a real face.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty
I fucking
sweet.
love that.
Wow, that's clever.
Solid idea, man.
Huh.
Good shit.
Yeah. Also, Godzilla vs. Kong kind of blows ass.
Yeah. Way to go, Michael.
Turns out.
You're a monster.
They were monsters.
Only Randy likes it, so there you go.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, well, it's tough being the right one. I'll tell you how it is sometime.
Y'all ever seen Ninja 3? He was talking about re-renting that.
No, I don't know that.
At first, the first thing that popped in my head was Three Ninjas, and that shit cracked me up
that's
like
different.
eternally.
Different.
Like, oh,
Tum
no.
Tum. So speaking of masks, that's a fucking throwback. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I hadn't
No.
seen Ninja 3. I know Scream Factory put it out. You can pick it up pretty easily. Like it's supposed to be bonkers as hell, so it's one
Really?
that I definitely have intended to watch for a while. But yeah, thanks for the recommendation, Michael. Thanks for calling in and weighing in on several different prompts, man.
Yeah,
Rapid
jammed them
fire.
in.
Yeah, breeze through them too.
Yeah, and if you ever want to talk about like the only good Godzilla movie that's ever been made, the Matthew Broderick movie from 1998.
Oh my God! Do not give this man a
talk to you about
platform.
I was trying to think about if I want to hop on Horror Apocalypse to talk about anything I wanted, what would I talk about? And I was like,
Godzilla 98.
Let's
that
talk
is
about
not
string
the
theory.
choice I would make.
Right here. Either that or no, honestly, just that.
Let's talk about AC repair.
No,
is your shit blowing cold or not?
that's not what I damn.
Michael,
I'll come up with something.
Be well. Yeah, we'll definitely. We'd love to feature on your show for sure. Hit us up. You know where to find us. Next up, we're going to be hearing from Simon. Let's hear what Simon has to say.
Hey boys, Simon here. I keep forgetting to call you guys. I've been drinking some beer, and I remembered. I drank beer and built a jungle gym all day. And I'm sunburned a little bit. And I'm driving. You guys told me to do that, so that's okay. Anyway, the prompt about the haunted house, I'm not too sure about that. My fears are a little bit, I don't know how you do a haunted house based on that. But the movie case that scared me, man, his old carrot cock himself, the Jack Frost case. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's holographic. It changes from how you look at it. So that movie always scared me so bad, just seeing the case, and then I realized it's such a stupid movie. But yeah, we didn't really have a Blockbuster. I grew up in a small town, so we had a little family-owned one. But yeah, keep up the good work, guys. Love listening to the show.
Dude, Carrot Cock really got me.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, man.
I do remember that cover though.
Yeah, it is
definitely.
it's impressive and terrifying. It just when he said that, I was like, did he mean to say carrot top? And I was like, no, he didn't.
No,
He didn't.
no. Why would you? No, I mean, Chairman of the Board is a bad movie, not a scary movie. But I will say, I laughed at your funny joke about driving while drunk because certainly in the spirit of the original comment, it was a joke.
So to be very clear, he hit us up on the side and was like, yo, That is 100% a joke. I was not drinking.
Okay, good.
Driving.
That makes me feel so much better. I was about to have a fucking crisis.
Making a joke, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Did anybody else? I loved as a kid the Jack Frost movie with Michael Keaton where he becomes a snowman.
Did you?
I enjoyed it,
play
dude.
hockey.
I enjoyed it.
I did not, but you have to listen to How Did This Get Made about that movie. You know that podcast, right? With Jason Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer and Diane Rayfield. That episode is one of the funniest fucking episodes of that show I've ever heard. It is so fucking funny. Please listen to it. Recommend.
Nice.
It may not give you your nostalgic vibes that you're after, but it'll make you laugh. It's fucking great.
Did they ever do one about the Santa Claus with fucking Tim Allen?
I'm not sure. They have a bunch of episodes.
I'd like to listen to that.
Santa Claus.
They did. Their sleepaway camp episode is also epic as shit. It's the best.
True. It's true.
Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know, the Jack Frost, that's a good pick. I think that had a better cover than anything else about the movie.
Yeah. Cover is actually pretty scary. The movie's not scary at all, ever.
No.
It's pretty goofy. It's definitely one of those you need like some friends and some brewskis, and like that's really the only way to watch that movie.
I was definitely giggling also at I'm pretty drunk, made a jungle gym today, sunburnt.
All right, you go.
Hey,
thanks, Simon. That was
do what
fun.
you got to do. Yeah, man. Thanks for calling in. Glad to hear from you, Simon. Hope all is well. Next up, we're going to hear from Logo. Let's hear what she has to say.
What up, Straight Chillin' crew? This is Logo. My actual name is Logan, but my friends call me Logo, so y'all can call me that all you want. The boyfriend and I caught Blood Diner last night. I hope this voicemail's not coming in too late, but neither of us were ready for that movie at all. I know this is coming in after the chat, but I'm pretty excited to hear what y'all think of it. But the answer to the question for y'all about the haunted house I thought would be pretty interesting because the job that I work at is one that a lot more people than I've expected have like major fears of. I work for a surgical dentist. So every time that we even just prepare patients for cleanings, they're like white knuckling the chair. So I thought that would actually be an incredible haunted house attraction to have like some crazy dentist with a drill like going in a patient's mouth, and they could like play like really loud drill sounds and they would be like screaming. And the surgical dentist that I work for, there's a lot of blood in our surgeries, so it could be a periodontist yanking out some teeth. I know that quite a few people have like insane fears of that. Like most of my friends tell me that they haven't been to the dentist in years. Everyone listening, if you haven't gotten your dental cleaning recently, you need to do that. No matter how scary it is. It is not going to be as scary as that haunted house attraction I told y'all about. Randy told me that I need to watch Clue on the Slack yesterday. So I thought that a good question for you guys was, because I found out Clue would be a great comfort movie for me. So I was wondering what y'all's comfort movies are. Like a movie that whenever you had like a really bad day, you just need some time. Like what's a good movie for y'all to just throw on to feel better? So I hope y'all had a good time watching the movie, and I'll talk to y'all soon.
That's a damn good call. Good question.
Yeah, definitely.
Real quick before we get into our comfort movies, I do want to say that dental haunted house sounds like a great idea and a prime opportunity to use Orin Scorvello to the top of his abilities. I think that would be in a fucking amazing room in a haunted house to have Orin Scorvello just fucking, who is the dentist from Little Shop of Horrors, for those who don't know, and a major Cooter, world-class Cooter. I would love to see that happen and somebody do like a full like Steve Martin, Orin Scorvello approach. It would be so funny.
It'd be horrific. Even if you don't mind going to the dentist, it would still be horrific.
Yeah. By the way, I'm one of those white knuckling motherfuckers, by the way. I go, but I'm far more, I've had a lot of surgeries in my life. Nothing scares me like the dentist though. Like nothing gets me that pent up.
So interesting.
Because you got to be awake for so much of it.
I had to have my I had to have my wisdom teeth removed surgically. They were like impacted or whatever.
Same.
And I specifically opted not to have the gas. And I do this like weird thing where like obviously they numbed me, so it wasn't painful, but obviously they're like breaking teeth or whatever.
Ugh,
I have this weird thing where I'm like, how much like can I take? Or like how much or like I think about this idea like of spies getting tortured and stuff like that, and even we brought it up in Old Boy of like the imagination is kind of what sparks like the terrible thing. So I really like the idea of like, can I sit through people surgically like removing my teeth and be like, okay, and like I am. It was okay with it.
I'm starting to worry what somebody might find in your search history. Justin.
Fucked up, dog.
It's just like it's like, could I like just sit through this and be okay? And it's like,
that's some Dennis Reynolds shit, dude.
Could you hear them breaking the teeth in your mouth?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was a surgical. It was the same as like a. It was the same as like a dental operation. It's just I didn't get the guy. I wasn't passed out. Yeah. I was awake.
You
dude,
did not feel
the idea
pain,
of sitting there watching Price is Right while somebody breaks your teeth is fucking horrifying.
I couldn't even watch anything. That's kind of like
my god,
like more about it. It's like I had to be inside my.
Why did you opt for that? Can I ask you that?
Well, I didn't. Well, I wanted to be able to get home okay on my own. And also because I know that like the gas can make you like really groggy. You know, you have some of those funny videos where the mom's driving their daughter home if they got gassed and shit like that. So I want to like be able to get home on my own. And but also it's not like a driving factor. Like I want to do this to see if I could take it. But I was like, like I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, like how bad is this gonna be? It'll be all right.
If anybody, not only is Soju open for sexual exploits, he's also open for waterboarding, apparently. So come to Spooky Empire and waterboard this bitch.
I don't know. It wasn't too bad. The dentist somehow doesn't bother me, I guess, because I've overcome that. It's almost like facing that fear. Like, why are people scared by this? Let me see if I can take it.
If sitting there for hours while somebody like digs in your mouth in an uncomfortable position, and it certainly makes it at least an uncomfortable, if not painful experience. Like, no, fuck that shit. That's not fun at all. But anyway, we should get to the second part of this question, unless Rob has something to add to that.
I was just going to say, the dentist doesn't bother me at all. It never has. The eye doctor is my fucking hell. I hate the fucking eye doctor. That's it. That's all I got to add. What else are we talking about?
We're on comfort movies. So yeah, Clue is my actually number one. So like that's why I recommended it to Logo.
Also a major comfort movie for myself. Clue is... Yeah. I remember watching that with you, Randy, when we were fucking children, like several times. Yeah. It's major comfort movie for sure. Otherwise, for me, I'd say Office Space, Pacific Rim, and if you're in spooky season, like Halloween, major comfort food for me. Those would be mine.
I would also add Shaun of the Dead to my list.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a big one for me.
I like throwing on Inglourious Bastards, certain scenes.
Like the torture scenes, perhaps?
Yeah, Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoky Barrels, Snatch, and Rock and Roll are movies I watch a lot. I think dialogues, or I mean like movies with like these really clever dialogues, I like to just kind of like lose myself in. Fury Road, I don't know.
I go to my childhood for the comfort movies because that's why it's comfortable for me.
Like to watch throw on Hook if I'm feeling
Home Alone
down or something. Yeah,
yeah.
Home Alone's a big one for me if you want to go holiday movies.
Yeah, Home Alone's a must watch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think let's add that to the roster of what people calling in. Like if you have a comfort movie you want to share with us, please let us know.
I like that. Solid question. Thanks for calling in, Logo. Don't rip anybody's like teeth out unless they are paying you to do that or whatever.
Yeah, unless it's Justin because you're really curious.
Apparently, it makes his dick real hard.
No,
that's what he said, not me.
Just
it's my boy Dick.
Next up, we got another voicemail. We're gonna be hearing from old 2 p.m. Todd and see what he has to say.
How do? Chilling crew. Still here in the very scenic state of Missouri. Just drove past a Hoof and Horn Meat Shack. That's right, a Hoof and Horn Meat Shack. You get all your hoof and all your horn here at the Meat Shack for a very low, low price. Being in the Midwest, I feel a little hell yeet, hell skeet, and a zoop zap zowie, or maybe a dibbity dibbity dop might be in order to start this rant. G baby, thank you for the shout out a couple of episodes back. Your hands-free club card is in the mail. So, we all know we are here today. There was an incident on the Slack on Wednesday night. We have a little ode to Jacqueline. Just know, Jack, time will heal. We do have a Rob Zombie strong connection. Jacqueline, your flame will again be bright, inspiring, nurturing, return to the all-inclusive, not forgetting people, non-shaming person that you are, Thanksgiving dinner candy eating queen, the cookies and milk princess, the one who provides stories and neighborhood sleepovers. You are a champion in all that you do. Like a phoenix from the fire, the 2 p.m. bell now tolls. Keep chillin'.
I gotta say, half the time I don't know what the fuck 2 p.m. Todd's talking about, but I know for a damn sure that I like it.
Okay, first of all, I want to start off with the Hoof and Horn Meat Shack. That is the most horrifying sentence I've ever heard spoke.
Yeah, why would hoof and horn? That's not meat.
Hoof and Horn Meat
That's like
Shack.
hot dog shit.
I got a shack full of meat, hoofs, and horns. You want to check it out?
That's what they make gummies out of. You just grind that shit up, and now you're eating
That's
Jell-O or
true,
whatever.
yeah. That's gelatin.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's Jell-O. There's always room for Jell-O. Always. I don't know, man. There's something about just Meat Shack on its own, but hoof and horn, highlighting the non-meat products of your animal and your Meat Shack titling, it seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
Why?
Also, I don't.
Why?
What?
Why?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
The Jacqueline ode, by the way, is given like, I don't know, 2 p.m. Todd might be entering the Cooter cult leader phase of his life.
I can provide some context for this. So over on the Slack channel, Jacqueline was talking about potentially like gathering just like the straight chilling clan.
Oh, right.
In real life, having like a meet and greet or whatever somewhere in Florida.
Let's not go with clan.
Sorry. Crew. The straight chilling crew. Having like a meet and greet somewhere in Florida at a certain point in the near future where everybody feels comfortable doing that. So she was just like name dropping people that she knew lived in Florida. Left out 2 p.m. Todd. Which is easily done because he's always talking about how he's in fucking Missouri. But he does actually live in Florida, so there was a bit of a kerfuffle, if you will, between the two. So that's what he's referencing that happened on Slack.
Okay.
Him being left out of that. Obviously, it's all in good jest and whatnot.
So, with that in mind, do we think that the Hoof and Horn Meat Shack was more of a threat towards Jacqueline? Or
I feel like that's just legit a thing that is in Missouri because of Missouri.
I feel bad judging other states being from Florida, but
I actually like really want to visit Missouri. So like I'm not no shade on Missouri,
St. Louis,
but also like that definitely exists there, I'm sure.
Anyway, that was I like Justin. I sometimes really don't understand. I usually don't understand everything that 2 p.m. Todd is talking about, but in this case, I definitely didn't fucking know what he was talking about for most of that.
Those Missouri,
thanks for calling, Todd.
Missouri bath salts are stronger than the Florida bath salts.
Oh, yeah, the landlocked bath salts. Woo, gotta watch out for them bitches.
They'll fuck you up. Good to hear from you, Todd. Hope everything's going well. We got 3 more that I think we're going to just like blast through back to back to back. We're going to hear from Jim G. Baby, Brandon, and Jay Moore. Randy, let them roll.
All right, here we go.
I have a daddy kink.
Bob has a daddy kink.
Hey, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to reach you. Does Bob have a daddy kink? I read that on a bathroom stall wall. Just wondering. All right, I gotta go. I think my mom's calling me. Bye.
Shouts
I
out
have
to
a
the Joe
daddy
Bob
kink.
crew.
Yeah, this is what happens when you fall asleep mid Joe Bob. People decide to call and rat you out about your daddy kinks. Here we are.
You know, is this entering the world of shaming? Rob, do you feel shamed?
No, I don't give a shit. It's fine.
We all have our kinks, Bob.
Proud.
No kink shaming around here.
No,
I mean,
sir.
I didn't have a daddy kink, but now I feel like I have to have one, or else I'm letting people down.
Don't
Like,
let us down, Bob.
I gotta develop one.
You got to
now.
develop your daddy kink.
Damn.
Yeah,
It's
man.
expected.
You can't let these people down. You're a representative for the daddy kink community at this point.
Apparently, I am a leather daddy. It was forced upon me.
Well,
here we are.
Oh, the leather is an interesting twist on the subject, but sure. That was
Yes,
not
I
forced
don't
on you
want
at all.
any of this
Interesting.
at all. I promise you that much.
I certainly don't want nipple rings and
I don't conveniently
dick
have a closet
piercings.
full of tight leather that I can wear at any given time.
I have a closet full of tight leather and Bermuda shorts. That's it. My daddy kinks in full
If
swing.
you have nipple rings.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, tell us about your nipple ring experience. No,
really,
don't
just
have to
let
do that.
Justin know. Apparently, he'd like to know.
Justin is really, really getting that vetting process for Spooky Empire down.
I'm getting ready for Spooky Empire, you know?
Yeah, I'll bring my leather.
Or as you like to call it, screw season.
God.
Scroopy.
I don't like this
No.
joke. This is a bad joke.
Yeah, couldn't make that work.
Yeah, tapping out this joke.
This is what happens when you hunt cooters too long. You become the cooter you hunt. We've well established this.
Gentlemen, thank you for forcing a daddy kink upon me. I will definitely live my life in accordance to this and make you proud. This is my vow. Here we are.
You're going to make daddy proud?
I'm going to, yeah, something like that. Anyway, if you want to call in, leave a voicemail, hit us up at 904-638-3231. What was the question, Randy? You reiterated somebody was talking about?
We're talking
comfort
Logo
movie.
asked.
Comfort movies, yeah, that's a good one. Hit us up. Let us know what your comfort movies are this week. 904-638-3231.
If we don't get to you, no offense intended.
Yeah,
Sorry.
for sure. We
Sorry, I didn't mean
definitely
to step on you there.
No, you're fine, man. We intend to play all the voicemails we get, but we have been getting a lot more than we ever anticipated, so it is what it is. Sorry if you don't hear a voice, we're going to try and get to you, but like we said, no promises. But yeah, hit us up. Let us know what your comfort movies are. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show. As always, we're going to be talking about our next Patreon pick. This one was chosen from Kelvin. The movie is none other than Dressed to Kill. Slam your eyeballs into Dressed to Kill. This is another one that, it's a De Palma movie, one of those movies that I've been meaning to watch for quite some time. Never have seen it. Excited to check it out. Slam your eyeballs into it. Get ready for next week. Dressed to Kill. Until then, as always, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Hit us up at Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, let us know on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link to join in on the Slack channel fun. Don't forget about our Joe Bob live watch every Friday for the next 8 weeks or so until season 3 concludes. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling. I have a daddy kink.
Ha ha!